Hi, my name is Katie Sela. I graduated from the University of Minnesota in December 2021. I graduated with a degree in journalism and Chinese, and currently I'm a student outreach coordinator at Anselm House. We are a Christian study center also located at the U, and in my day-to-day work, I help students connect faith and knowledge with all of life through a variety of activities, lectures, reading discussion groups, along with connecting with students about what does it mean to connect my faith with what I study during my time at the U. So, in terms of where the Lord has been in my life since graduation, I have moved a couple different times. I've kind of been in transition with the different roommates and households I've been in. And I know so many young adults, just the volatility of where you're living can make a huge impact of what parish you end up going to, those communities, the friends you keep in touch with. And I think in all those things, the Lord has reminded me to remain steadfast to the promises that He really revealed to me during my time in CSU and especially before then, and growing in my faith. And I think particularly when it comes to the choices we have as young adults, it's important to remember that choices don't end, because the relationship we have with the Lord, there's always choices to be made in that. And I think at times as young adults, we just don't want any choices. We just want everything. We want the defaults back. We love the default of college and having this is the ministry we go to. Here's the events. Here's these things. But for us to mature and to really grow in our faith, the Lord is calling us to choose Him again and again and every day. And I think in a particular way in the scriptures, after Christ resurrected, when He appeared to Mary Magdalene and she said Rabboni, I believe, I think that's the Greek. But essentially, after Christ resurrected and appeared to Mary Magdalene, He said to her, "Don't cling to me," which at first she might have been very confused by that of the risen Lord has returned, my Lord is back, I can be with Him again. But He said I've not yet ascended to my Father. And then later He told the disciples and then the apostles at the ascension that someone is coming that's far greater than I, in His reference to the Holy Spirit. I think at times as young adults we can find that transition from a very set college ministry that we were a part of, that we were so involved in, that transition can be scary for us, because it's like Christ is saying don't cling to me, I will be with you in every step of the way throughout your life with the Holy Spirit. I think when it comes to the decisions we make, from the most minuscule things about roommates, for parishes, for where do we feel we're being called on mission to in our job and our work, with our family, with our friends, I think it's important to remember that Christ is telling us don't cling to me, I will be with you, do not be afraid. And that's something that I felt a lot of consolation with in all the transitions that I've sort of had, in being my first year on a new job and keeping up with friends from college, meeting new friends, that the stability we try to invent for ourselves in this world is always going to falter unless we look to Christ as our foundation. So when it comes to finding a young adult community, I think a better way to rephrase that sort of question is, how do you fight for a young adult community? I think how us as young adults, I think we can kind of be used to either just going to events, going sort of in these routes of where maybe our friends were, or maybe finding people. But I think the important thing to consider is that the people that Christ puts in your life are very much there for a reason. And I think there's can be a fear of am I overextending myself with getting to know certain people? But I think the question to keep in mind is, or a question that's kind of been ringing through my mind in these past couple months is, were you Christ to them in the way He asked you to be? Because I think sometimes with the people that God puts in our life, we can be kind of worried about am I doing the right thing? Am I doing what I think is best for this person? But the problem with that is you might not be listening to the Holy Spirit and what the Holy Spirit wants you to be for this person, or particularly in these communities. And I think sort of that movement and that onus from the Holy Spirit in us to other people, I think that should be the movement in young adult communities, and not just we're building these things for ourselves or because these are our favorite people to be with, because we're fighting for these people as we want to see them in heaven. So to reiterate, my encouragement to fellow alumni would be to keep faith at the forefront and also the center of your decisions and your life. And a particular way that I've found this very helpful is to keep up with a sort of daily examine, which I think young adults were very busy. We don't even want to think about what happened in all throughout the day, all the decisions we had to make, because they can be tiresome. We just want to be done with it at the end of the day. But I actually encourage you with this daily examine not to do it at the end of a day, but the next morning, to reflect on how God worked through your whole day, and to be grateful for those certain moments that you may not have been grateful for exactly at first glance of your day. It can be very easy to either focus so much on the negatives of a day, or focus only on the positives, say I don't even want to think about any negative thing that ever happened. But I think when you can reach the point in our spiritual lives, that we're able to open up and say to the Lord, like, Lord, thank you for this very difficult situation that actually cut down my pride and reminded me of the all-sufficiency of your Son. Like, I think being able to like really offer up these particular sufferings or these particular things we have throughout our lives just brings so much more to the forefront that Christ entered reality. He wants to be in our reality. He wants to be in our particulars as young adults, and that nothing is wasted in his plan for our redemption and for us to ultimately be in communion with him.